Good morning, students. I'm Mrs. Jyotsna Dethe. Today we are going to learn chapter number 2, the scholarship jacket. The scholarship jacket. This story is written by Marta Salinas. She was born in California and received a degree in creative writing from the University of California at Irvine. Salinas has published several short stories in journals and anthologies. The story is based in a small town in the American state of Texas. The protagonist is a 14-year-old girl named Martha. She is a brilliant student. She has been a class topper all her life. Her only goal is to attain the scholarship jacket that the school awards to the best performing student for 8 years of consecutive brilliance. Martha expects to be given the honor as she enters her 8th grade, just like her sister Rosie did in the past. Let's watch a video to know what happens further.
The Scholarship Jacket by Marta Salinas. The small Texas school that I went to had a tradition carried out every year during the 8th grade graduation. A beautiful gold and green jacket, the school colors, was awarded to the class valedictorian, the student who had maintained the highest grades for 8 years. The scholarship jacket had a big gold S on the left front side, and your name written in gold letters on the pocket. My oldest sister, Rosie, had won the jacket a few years back, and I fully expected to also. I was 14 and in the 8th grade. I had been a straight A student since the 1st grade, and this last year had looked forward very much to owning that jacket. My father was a farm laborer who couldn't earn enough money to feed 8 children, so when I was 6, I was given to my grandparents to raise. We couldn't participate in sports at school because there were registration fees, uniform costs, and trips out of town. So, even though our family was quite agile and athletic, there would never be a school sports jacket for us. This one, the scholarship jacket, was our only chance. In May, close to graduation, spring fever had struck as usual with a vengeance. No one paid any attention in class. Instead, we stared out the windows and at each other, wanting to speed up the last few weeks of school. I absent-mindedly wandered from my history class to the gym. Then I remembered my PE shorts were still in a bag under my desk where I'd forgotten them. I had to walk all the way back to get them. Coach Thompson was a real bear if someone wasn't dressed for PE. I was almost back at my classroom door when I heard voices raised in anger, as if in some sort of argument. I stopped. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just hesitated, not knowing what to do. I needed those shorts, and I was going to be late, but I didn't want to interrupt an argument between my teachers. I recognized the voices. Mr. Schmidt, my history teacher, and Mr. Boone, my math teacher. They seemed to be arguing about me. I couldn't believe it. I still remember the feeling of shock that rooted me flat against the wall, as if I were trying to blend in with the graffiti written there. I refuse to do it. I don't care who her father is. Her grades don't even begin to compare to Martha's. I won't lie or falsify records. Martha has a straight A+ average, and you know it. That was Mr. Schmidt, and he sounded very angry. Mr. Boone's voice sounded calm and quiet. Look, Joanne's father is not only on the board, he owns the only store in town. We could say it was a close tie, and... The pounding in my ears drowned out the rest of the words. Only a word here and there filtered through. Martha is Mexican. Resign. Won't do it. Mr. Schmidt came rushing out and, luckily for me, went down the opposite way toward the auditorium, so he didn't see me. Shaking, I waited a few minutes and then went in and grabbed my bag and fled from the room. Mr. Boone looked up when I came in, but didn't say anything. To this day, I don't remember if I got in trouble in PE for being late or how I made it through the rest of the afternoon. I went home very sad and cried into my pillow that night so grandmother wouldn't hear me. It seemed a cruel coincidence that I had overheard that conversation. The next day, when the principal called me into his office, I knew what it would be about. He looked uncomfortable and unhappy. I decided I wasn't going to make it any easier for him, so I looked him straight in the eyes. He looked away and fidgeted with the papers on his desk. Martha, he said, there's been a change in policy this year regarding the scholarship jacket. As you know, it has always been free. He cleared his throat and continued. This year, the board has decided to charge $15, which still won't cover the complete cost of the jacket. I stared at him in shock, and a small sound of dismay escaped my throat. I hadn't expected this. He still avoided looking in my eyes. So, if you are unable to pay the $15 for the jacket, it will be given to the next one in line. I didn't need to ask who that was. Standing with all the dignity I could muster, I said, I'll speak to my grandfather about it, sir, and let you know tomorrow. I cried on the walk home from the bus stop.
Now, let us know the story. What happens further? We see Martha is heartbroken. The girl is heartbroken but summons enough courage to defer the matter up until a conversation with her grandfather. When she returns home and informs her grandfather about what had happened, he declines any sort of payment. He believes that scholarship jacket is something you earn through merit, so why should the meritorious pay anything for it? Next day, Martha relays her decision to decline the jacket as she has no money to pay for it. She offers it to the next student in line, and that is Joanne. But after hearing her words and anguish in them, the principal's heart melts. He decides to award it to his most deserving and meritorious student, Martha herself. She comes back to the farm later that evening and shares the glad tidings with her grandparents. Now let us see question answers. Where was Martha brought up and why? Martha was brought up in Texas by her grandparents. Her father was a poor farm laborer with 8 children. So Martha had been given her grandparents to be raised. What was the school tradition that Martha longed to follow and why? The school tradition that Martha longed to follow was of winning the gold and green jacket that was awarded to the class valedictorian. Martha's older sister had won the jacket a few years before, and Martha herself, who was a student since the first grade, was also expected to win it. So here we have come across a new word, that is valedictorian. The meaning is usually the highest ranking student in the graduating class. And here this word has been used for Martha, as she has been a straight A plus student since she was in first grade. Why was the scholarship jacket their only chance? Now here the word there is used for Martha and her sister. The scholarship jacket was their only chance because though the siblings were quite athletic and agile, they were unable to participate in school sports because they didn't have the money to pay for registration fees, uniform costs, and trips out of town. Academic excellence was the only way for them to distinguish themselves at school. Now, here, agile is a new word meaning able to move quickly and easily. What were the two teachers arguing about? Why were the two disagree? The two teachers were arguing about whom that year's scholarship jacket should go to. Mr. Boone wanted it to go to a girl called Joanne, whose father was on the school board and was quite an influential person in the town. Mr. Smith, on the other hand, refused to lie or falsify records as he felt that Martha undoubtedly deserved the award. What was Martha's reaction to the argument she heard? Martha was shocked, disheartened, and sad after overhearing the conversation. She cried all night. It seemed to her like a cruel coincidence because it revealed to her that her hopes and dreams of winning the scholarship jacket, something she had worked hard for, were being snatched away from her just when they were within reach. How did Grandpa respond to the idea of paying for the scholarship jacket? Grandpa said that if they had to pay for it, it was not really a scholarship jacket. He told Martha to tell her principal that he refused to pay for the jacket. What was the principal's reaction? When Martha told the principal that her grandfather refused to pay, he first questioned why, telling her that her grandfather could afford it. Then she explained to him what her grandfather had said and accidentally let slip that he should give the jacket to Joanne. The principal perhaps realized that she knew what was really going on. Perhaps he felt ashamed because he then changed his mind and said Martha would get the jacket without having to pay for it. Now we are going to see few qualities of Martha. As she is the main character in this story, we are going to learn about her qualities. Martha is a hard-working girl. She's a straight A student and eligible to be class valedictorian. Thoughtful, She's a thoughtful girl. Why? She hesitated outside the classroom because she could hear some teachers arguing and did not want to interrupt. So she was waiting outside. Considerate. She cried quietly into her pillow because she didn't want to bother her grandmother. She's a sensitive girl. She understood and accepted her family's financial circumstances when they couldn't compete for the sports jacket. Students, here we have completed this chapter, that is the scholarship jacket. Thank you.